Hi humans, I'm Elenora Catling, #1 advice columnist in the galaxy. If you're wondering why a cat is telling you about Omega Mart, take a deep breath and relax. Go along for the ride, okay? Omega Mart is all about the unexpected. And I'm answering the following question. Dear Elenora, I'm so bored with life. I want to travel somewhere domestically, but I'm not even sure where to go because the world is still weird these days. What do you recommend? Sincerely, Jake. Well, that one's easy, Jake. Omega Mart in Las Vegas! Woohoo! Start planning your trip now. Merlin and I visited Omega Mart with our human family in early 2022. Omega Mart is an extraordinary experience of varied realities. It is much more than just an art installation, and it's much more than just a futuristic grocery store. I'll explain more in this video and why I recommend you add Omega Mart to your Las Vegas itinerary. Omega Mart is celebrating its first birthday this February 2022. Meow Wolf is the name of the artist collective that made Omega Mart a full-scale, quirky destination of epic proportions. In this video, I'm giving you 12 insider tips to make the absolute most of your trip to Omega Mart. Here we go! Tip number 1, learn about Area 15. The Omega Mart entrance is inside Area 15, which is a short 10-minute drive from either downtown Las Vegas or the Strip. Area 15 is a giant indoor wonderland. It's groovy inside with entertainment venues, lots of seating, good restaurant, a snack bar, cocktail lounge, kitschy shops, and more will be opening in there soon. So allow some extra time to explore the other stuff at Area 15 because it's uniquely cool in there. Tip number 2. Be aware of what you cannot take into Omega Mart. Read their official FAQ before you go. You cannot take food and beverages inside, and you cannot leave to eat and then go back in. No re-entry, folks. But don't worry about water, because there are water fountains all over the place in there. There's a bar in Omega Mart, but no food. When we went there, everything was squeaky clean, and of course there were hand sanitizing stations all around, and they were doing sanitizing procedures on exhibits on a regular basis. Tip number 3, save your souvenir shopping for the very end as you leave. There's like 1,000 products in Omega Mart, and yes, most all of them you can purchase. I don't know that you'd want to use or consume them, but hey, it's up to you. Here's our favorite souvenir. Here's why you want to save the shopping till the end. Tip number 4. Omega Mart is huge. Be prepared to spend plenty of time in there. It's ginormous and way bigger than it looks from the outside. Much more than just the grocery store. It's a factory, a desert village, corporate offices, and some of the most super creative art we've ever seen on a grand scale. The official FAQ says most first-time visitors spend 1.5 to 2.5 hours in Omega Mart. But I'm telling you guys, we were in there for more than 4 hours, and we'll explain why in the next 2 tips. Tip number 5, decide how you're going to approach the Omega Mart experience before you go, because there are 2 ways to do Omega Mart. The first is you can treat it as a futuristic art installation and simply walk through without any knowledge of the backstories. Or, with a capital or, you can do a little investigating on the interwebs to discover the backstories and lore of Omega Mart. Now here's just the basics. Omega Mart is owned by a corporate entity named DramCorp. As a large corporation, they're up to no good, of course, so it's no surprise that they add a mega addictive substance called Additive S to all their products. There's some mystery as to just where Additive S truly comes from and how they're able to grow their fresh produce in the Nevada desert. There's also a storyline of Walter, the DramCorp CEO, seeking his replacement as he's getting older and he overlooks his own daughter Cecilia, which was a mistake on his part. There's loads of backstory and lore, and I only mentioned a tiny bit of it there. It's up to you how deep you want to dig before you go, but if you know some of it, then the wackiness in there will make a little more sense to you. But it's good to make your choice before you go, because you need to choose once you're in there whether you want to wander around just in artistic appreciation with no particular goal, or if you want to complete the DramCorp adventure with an access card, also known as a boop card. If you want to do the adventure, don't worry, you don't need to know all of the story. That would even be impossible probably, because Meow Wolf has created a tremendous amount of lore. The boop card adventure is still doable if you know the gist of a few of the storylines. That's good enough. Tip number 6, plan your time accordingly to your choice. If you're going to walk around a la an art installation, then plan on being at Omega Mart for around 2 hours, and then maybe you'd want to do one or two things at Area 15 while you're there. But we were in it for the adventure with the boop card, and we were in there for like 4.5 hours, guys. I'm not kidding. It seemed like forever because we got hungry. One other thing, if you plan to get an access boop card to do the adventure, be prepared that you're going to have to wait in line for a few minutes to get your boop card once you are admitted to Omega Mart. Tip number 7, go on a weekday morning or afternoon to avoid crowds if at all possible. We didn't mention this until now because it's even more important if you're planning to do the adventure. There are a couple places where there are lots of clues to read, and those spaces can get kind of backed up if there's too many people around. Tip number 8, touch stuff. It's an interactive experience. Whichever choice you make to go through Omega Mart, don't be afraid to touch things because much more than we expected was interactive. You know how you're used to seeing signs everywhere that say don't touch, right? Well, it's the opposite at Omega Mart. Expect that most of it is interactive, including secret passageways. We missed out on stuff in the musical laser room because we didn't realize just how interactive it was. Tip number 9, don't think there's only one right way to go through Omega Mart or that there's only one successful way to get through the adventure. If you're just wandering through, you can do any secret passageway, any order you want to do. It's the opposite of most venues in which you have to queue up in a line and follow the arrows. None of that here. However, if you are doing the boop card adventure, you do need to start in the grocery store. But as I said, there's more than one right way to get through the adventure. Tip number 10, watch the video screens and read papers and pamphlets that are lying about. They have interesting stories whether you're doing the adventure or not. But anything on a computer screen is more about the clues for the adventure. Tip number 11. This is merely my opinion, but I recommend taking time to consider whether you really want to take children with you. Meow Wolf welcomes kids to Omega Mart, so you're certainly allowed to bring them with. But here are things to consider. This is a grocery store of a messed up future. There are times when all the lights flicker and an ominous loud voice takes over the video screens. If your little one gets scared by unpredictable noises and such, they might freak out. So young kids aren't going to be able to get the satirical humor of the products at Omega Mart. And some of the photos that you see of Omega Mart might look like it's a big playground because there's slides in there, but it is not a free-for-all. It's definitely not like an indoor playground for kids. And remember, no outside food or drink is allowed to be brought in. So again, it's just my opinion. I wouldn't take my kittens in there, but I suppose it depends on your expectations and just what you want to experience while you're there and whether you want to do the adventure. Tip number 12, be prepared that after you buy your souvenirs from Omega Mart, such as groceries and stickers and t-shirts, you'll find out as you leave that there's another Meow Wolf gift shop around the corner and it has lots more Meow Wolf merch that isn't necessarily Omega Mart specific. We didn't go in because we were too tired and hungry, but just prepare your credit card that there's 2 souvenir shopping experiences. And here's a bonus tip, eat at the Beast restaurant. It was fantastic to have a reasonably priced restaurant right across from Omega Mart since we were starving. We had the ribs, which were delicious. Although it's called the Beast, they have both carnivore and herbivore menu items. Since we were there in a January, on a weekday, we got into the restaurant immediately. But if you're going at a busier time, you probably want to make a reservation. Okay, guys, for those of you who definitely want to do the adventure at Omega Mart, I have made another video, linked in the card up here, with 7 super specific, very cool insider tips that you won't get anywhere else. So be sure to watch that if you want to do the adventure. I'll also link it at the end of this video because here's just a few more infos for you. Is Omega Mart wheelchair accessible? Well, not 100%, but pretty much. There's an elevator and Meow Wolf's FAQ addresses all ADA questions, so check it out. Do the art installations change at Omega Mart? Yes, and some of the features appear to have variations throughout the day. I'm a mega introvert, like a highly sensitive person. Will I be able to deal with all the stimulation in Omega Mart? Okay, we're sensitive too. Because we were invested in the backstories and lore, we were able to view much of the goings-on as interesting clues rather than overwhelming. And once you get past the grocery store, there are areas with lots of open space. So there are places where you can sit and chill. Because you can go at your own pace, you're never trapped in anyone's space. But know thyself and plan accordingly. Is there a connection among Omega Mart in Las Vegas, the House of Eternal Return in Santa Fe, and Convergence Station in Denver? Yes, they are all Meow Wolf experiences, and it seems that the lore connects all of these locations. We've only been to Omega Mart so far, but the House of Eternal Return is next on our list. Speaking of booping, please boop the like button on this video and watch my other videos for comedy and stellar advice in my advice column, or check out my other Omega Mart video with tips for the adventure. I'm Elenora Catling, and I sincerely hope this video helps you have the most memorable, super fun time at Omega Mart so you won't be bored anymore, Jake. Thanks for watching, humans.